Have you ever been so focused on one goal that everything else in your life just blurred out? In Soul, Joe is exactly that guy. He wakes up, runs through his day, and the only thing his brain cares about is landing that one gig. And honestly, that feels way too familiar. We all have that, when I finally get this, everything will make sense. A dream job, a big break, some finish line that's supposed to fix everything. But Soul quietly flips the script. Not with a dramatic speech, just with simple moments that are easy to miss. A little spark of inspiration, the taste of pizza, sunlight on a sidewalk, someone laughing for no reason. It keeps throwing these tiny details at us like, hey, this is life too. Don't skip it. And the crazy part? Joe doesn't even notice any of it. He keeps thinking meaning only exists in that one perfect moment he's chasing. But the movie keeps nudging the idea that maybe the real problem isn't the dream. It's how narrow our vision gets when we obsess over it. Because when you zoom in too much on one big goal, you stop seeing the rest of your life happening right in front of you. And Soul basically asks a simple question without ever saying it out loud. What if the thing you think will change everything actually isn't the thing that matters the most? Joe is a guy who built his entire identity around one single idea: becoming a full-time jazz musician. Everything he does points to that goal, and nothing else seems important to him. His job, his routine, even the people around him feel like side quests he never asked for. And this mindset fits perfectly with the world the movie creates. Soul splits life into two parts. There's the real world, where Joe is stuck in his narrow routine, and there's the U Seminar, a place where new souls learn what makes them ready to live. It's a simple setup, but it gives the film room to question how we define purpose in the first place. Joe thinks purpose is something huge, something dramatic, something that hits like a spotlight on a big stage. But the film keeps showing that this belief might be exactly what's holding him back. And before we break the story down, there's one thing worth noticing. Joe is not someone who lacks passion or drive. His problem is that his vision is zoomed in so tight that he can't see anything outside that one dream. That's the context the movie builds, and it's the starting point for everything that happens next. Most people think life is shaped by big turning points, achievements, breakthroughs, moments that feel loud and unforgettable. But the truth is, our minds aren't built to live from one big moment to the next. The brain is wired to lock onto a single idea and dim everything else around it, like a spotlight that makes the rest of life fade into the background. When we chase a goal, our attention narrows. Days start to blend together, and everything outside that goal becomes noise we barely notice. And that's exactly where Joe gets stuck. Not because loving music is wrong, but because his mind shifts into a state where nothing feels meaningful unless it leads straight to that one dream. It's a mindset a lot of us fall into. We assume small moments don't matter just because they don't move us forward, but the thing we forget is this: those small moments were never supposed to push us anywhere. They are the very thing we're trying to reach. The problem is they don't trigger the same reward system that ambition does. They don't feel dramatic or productive, so we overlook them, thinking we're being focused and driven. Meanwhile, the actual experience of being alive is happening quietly in the spaces we rush through. A conversation we didn't plan, a walk we barely noticed, a simple moment that doesn't look like progress. Soul hides these small moments in the background on purpose. Not for symbolism, but to show how a person can move through an entire day without actually being present in it. Joe approaches life like a checklist. What's next? What's the next step? And the film uses that tunnel vision to show how awareness slips away when the mind stays stuck in next mode. And this is where the real shift begins. Not in slowing down or romanticizing life, but in noticing what's actually happening around you. Because before the story can move anywhere, the awareness itself has to wake up. When Joe ends up in 22's world, the film stops talking about ambition and starts showing something else entirely. 22 doesn't care about goals, achievements, or some big purpose. She pays attention to things Joe doesn't even register: the way a leaf falls, the sound of footsteps, a slice of pizza that tastes good for no reason. These aren't life lessons. They're data points Joe's brain never saved because none of them helped him reach his dream. But here's the shift. When Joe gets stuck in 22's body and moves through the world the way she sees it, his mind finally breaks its routine. For the first time, he experiences life without filtering it through ambition. And that's why those scenes feel strangely calm. Not emotional, not dramatic, just real. Because the film is showing how awareness feels when the pressure to be somebody goes silent for a moment. 22 doesn't find meaning in the moment. She notices the moment. And that's the difference. Meaning comes later. Awareness comes first. It's the part we skip every time we try to figure out what our purpose is before we even understand what being alive feels like. And when Joe walks through the city with 22's perspective, everything he ignored becomes visible. A simple haircut turns into a real conversation. A subway ride becomes a small piece of life instead of a distraction. The world hasn't changed. Joe's default settings have. The film uses this switch to say something most people never question. Maybe the problem isn't that you haven't found your purpose. Maybe the problem is you haven't actually seen your life yet. The turning point of Soul isn't Joe getting his dream gig. It's what happens after he gets it. He spends years believing that reaching that stage will unlock something inside him. Fulfillment, identity, a sense of finally becoming who he was meant to be. But when the night ends, nothing actually changes. The world looks the same. He feels the same. And that's the film's quiet punchline. Your purpose isn't a single moment waiting to fix your life. Joe realizes he didn't misunderstand music. He misunderstood what a life is supposed to feel like. He wasn't chasing the wrong dream. He was chasing it in a way that erased everything else. And this is where the film breaks the idea most people carry. A purpose isn't a mission. It's not a destiny. It's not even a plan. It's a state of attention. It's the ability to actually experience the things your mind kept skipping. That's why the spark was never meant to be a calling. It was a sign that you're engaged with life, that you're here. 22's spark wasn't a job. It wasn't a talent. It wasn't some special gift. It was the basic awareness she felt for the world Joe had been ignoring for years. And once Joe sees this, the idea of purpose flips completely. It stops being something you search for and becomes something you generate. Not by achieving something huge, but by noticing the things that make you feel alive without any reward attached. Soul isn't trying to tell you to give up ambition. It's telling you that ambition without awareness turns your life into a checklist. And awareness without ambition turns your life into a drift. The real balance, the thing the movie is pointing to, is when your goals and your present stop fighting each other. When you can move towards something without missing everything happening on the way there. The point of Soul isn't that life is short or that you need to slow down. The point is that awareness and purpose were never two separate things. You don't live first and find meaning later. You create meaning through the way you notice your life while it's happening. Joe didn't get a new purpose at the end. He got a new way of paying attention. And once that changes, everything else follows. Your goals stop feeling like pressure. Your moments stop feeling empty, and the world stops looking like a place you're trying to escape from. The film isn't asking you to rethink your dream. It's asking you to rethink the space between you and your dream. Because that space is your life, and you've been walking through it on autopilot. If there's one thing Soul leaves you with, it's this. You're not missing a destiny. You're missing the parts of your life that you stopped noticing. And the second you start seeing them again, the meaning you've been looking for doesn't show up later. It shows up instantly,